And now, it's time for the Ford Advantage, presented by Maritime Ford, home of the 1% rule.
Maritime Ford, Lincoln Mercury. It's time for Maritime.
Happy Monday, everyone, and welcome back for another edition of the Ford Advantage. I'm Steve Lawson from Maritime Ford, and I'll warn you ahead of time that today's topic is going to be a little touchy, because we're going to be talking about Toyota, and oh, how the mighty have fallen. By now, all of you, I'm sure, have heard about the massive recall Toyota has because of their braking system. They took the unprecedented move of actually halting production on 7 of their key models so they could get a grip on this thing. Now, I don't want to come off as being too heavy-handed with this because it is a very delicate situation, and lives have been lost because of this issue. And frankly, it would be hypocritical to sit here and bash them because it wasn't too long ago that Ford was dealing with a similar situation with Firestone tires on our Explorers. But there is one part of this that really does bother me, and I think it is worth discussing. There was an interview done by WGN Radio in Chicago with our Transportation Secretary, Ray LaHood. This is what Ray said. He said, quote, "The reason Toyota decided to do the recall and to stop manufacturing is that we asked them to. We were the ones that really met with Toyota, our department, our safety folks, and told them you've got to do the recall," close quote. And listen, everyone, I would have no problem with that had these sudden acceleration issues just cropped up in the last couple of months. But these issues started as early as March of 2004 when the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration first opened a sudden acceleration investigation of Toyota Camrys and the Lexus ES. These issues have been with Toyota for nearly 6 years, and I'm sorry, but it shouldn't take Secretary LaHood's mandate to get Toyota moving on this. It's almost unforgivable given that Toyota's entire reputation is staked on their quality and reliability. Now, that aside, I think we can all understand how something like this happens. You can't double your market share within the past decade and not experience some growing pains. But with growth comes responsibility, and when you can't manage that responsibility, the edges start to fray. Just ask General Motors or Chrysler. Or Ford of a few years ago, for that matter. But for God's sakes, don't bury your head in the sand when the proverbial stuff hits the fan. They owe their customer base more than that, and that's what really bothers me about this whole thing. Okay, so how does this relate to Ford? Well, if you saw our ad in last week's Herald Times, you may have noticed where Ford is offering owners of Toyotas an extra $1,000 if they trade in their 1995 or newer Toyota. At first, it may have seemed like Ford was piling on, but the reality is there's a very good chance that Toyota resale values are going to fall off a cliff as a result of their recall, and I applaud Ford for trying to compensate for that loss. We've already seen Toyota values drop at the auto auctions, so to me this incentive just makes sense. But Ford didn't make the incentive exclusive to Toyota. It also applies for any 95 or newer Honda, Lexus, Scion, or Acura. Combined with our current rebates, you can realize as much as $7,000 back right now on the F-150, or even more impressive, $4,000 back on a Focus. So much for trying to wean ourselves off the big incentives, huh? But in all honesty, I do think we're nearing the end of the age of the rebate because manufacturers have to get their actual selling price closer to the sticker price, or we're going to see another round of bankruptcies in the near future. I don't think you'll ever see $4,000 on a Focus again. So if you'll allow me to be a salesperson for a second, now is the time to buy. I can't even count how many safety awards Ford has won in the past few years, but I can tell you this. No one has more 5-star crash test ratings in their lineup than Ford. And sometimes it takes an issue like we had with Firestone tires to wake a company up and get their focus where it should be. Maybe in a few years, Toyota will bounce back from this and be stronger than ever. But in the meantime, would you consider an industry leader in safety? Give Ford a shot, folks. I guarantee you won't be disappointed. You can find us online at www.maritimeford.com, and I can be reached via email at save@maritimeford.net. As always, thanks for your time. Have a fantastic week, everyone. We'll see you next Monday.
You've been listening to the Ford Advantage, presented by Maritime Ford, home of the 1% rule. Don't forget to tune in again next Monday morning at 11:15 for another edition of the Ford Advantage with Steve.
It's time for Maritime. Maritime Ford, Lincoln Mercury. It's time for Maritime. It's time to come and see the Maritime difference. To put the fun back in the buying experience. Maritime Ford, Lincoln Mercury, where you got a friend in us. Maritime Ford, Lincoln Mercury. It's time From Maritime